Okay, so welcome back. It's been a while. Um, this is still SWTOR. It's patch 4.2b, I believe, and yeah, we're still in it. So with this video, actually what we're going to do is we're not going to actually be playing anything. I wanted to take this time out to actually do a pretty basic tutorial, or basically to provide an explanation about DPS. DPS is damage per second. And I know for some of you guys out there, especially experienced PvPers, this might seem a little bit like very beginner level stuff, but hopefully I can present it in a way that's a little bit new. And for those of you who maybe aren't as familiar with the concept of DPS, and as it applies to war zones, hopefully this will help you out. Okay, so let's jump into it. I said we weren't going to be playing today, but I am going to be requiring the help of a notepad. So let me go into OBS, get that up. Perfect. So I have this notepad here, and we can see that it's titled DPS. Now I'm just going to jump straight into the most basic example that I can think of when it comes to DPS, and that is an arena. Okay, that is a 4 versus 4 arena. Okay, cool. I'm sure we've all been in them before, and we're just going to talk about one round. Cool. So this particular arena, I'm going to have it set it up in a certain way to help make my point about DPS. So we already said it's 4 versus 4, so equal number of people, and there will be no healer in either group. Okay, so no healer in either group. Okay, so let's assume that they're all DPS. Okay, all DPS. I'm sure we've even been in some of these matches before where it's 4 damage dealers versus 4 damage dealers. Okay. The reason why I use this example with no healers is because it allows me to introduce the idea of the health pie concept. The health pie concept. I'll put that up. Health pie. And this is me. This isn't really like a defined term. But let's take a look at how I use this term health pie. So we already said each team has 4 players. Let's assume each player has, make it easy, right? 70k health. 70k health, right? Okay? So that means each team total is going to have 280k, right? Remember, no healers, right? And assuming no heals are performed during this whole match. So we're just doing damage. Great. So the objective is to win this arena, which means kill the other team. Which means I can also say that the first team to reach 280k damage total equals the winner. Okay? So we basically put out a couple points out there, right? We have this arena. We're just talking about one round of it, right? There's no healer in either group, right? And we have this thing called a health pie. Okay, I'm gonna get myself a little bit more space here. Okay, so everybody's like seen the scoreboard, right? And the scoreboard has your total damage done. At the end of each round, it shows your protection done if you have a tank with protection. It shows heals done, right, if you have a healer. And it shows your death, right, if you died. 0 or 1, basically, if you died during that round. Now, the cool thing about this scoreboard is you're going to really want to take advantage of the detailed scoreboard. All right, and that means anytime you mouse over any one of those fields in the scoreboard, it will actually tell you if I moused over damage. Let's say I did a total of 100,000 damage. I'll mouse over and it'll say on a per second basis you did about, let's say, 1,000 damage per second, and that totaled into 100,000. So let's say the match was 100 seconds long, right? Really easy. Same thing with protection. It'll give you protection per second, heals per second, and then almost as importantly, if you scroll over deaths, it'll show you how much damage you took. Right. So, for instance, if let's say the team that lost, I moused over all their scoreboard stats, I could mouse over each death, and it'll show 1 death and damage taken 70k per player. Right. To total the 280k. Remember, we're assuming no heals were done. So I think it's pretty clear, what I'm going to get to next, hopefully, is that the team that basically does 280k damage first is going to be the winner. Right? So it's not how much damage you do, it's how much damage you do and how quickly you can do it that will basically establish, are you going to win? All right, so imagine this pie of your health, right? That's 280k just being eaten, gobbled up by the other team as far as their spells that are doing damage to you. And whoever, quote unquote, eats their pie the fastest is a fat fuck. No, is somebody who will basically win that match. So hopefully that was clear to you guys as far as really introducing the idea of, all right, there's a limited amount of health that exists, right, in this scenario because there's no healer. So basically, it's just, whoever can do X amount of damage first, right, the fastest is what we're looking for. Now there are, this isn't always going to be the case. What happens if you have a healer, let's say? Well, then your health pie becomes potentially unlimited, right? And here's what we think about in terms of when you have a healer. Every time that caster casts a heal spell, it's increasing the amount of health that existed on that team, right? So it's no longer 280k. The second you cast a 10,000 or 20,000k heal, say you created one, that health pie is going to jump to 300,000. So the other team will have had to have done 300,000 worth of damage in order to win, right? To take into account that extra added health that was added by the healer. Now, if you kind of take this concept a couple seconds further, what you see is, well, if you think of it in terms of like a bar, and this is your health going up, right, with the healer. Let's say you can do damage really fast. That means your health pool is going to drop a lot, right? Like, let's say this other team dropping. But then let's say you have a really good healer and his heals per second or her heals per second is really strong. Then it's going to mitigate that damage that's being done, right? So it's kind of keeping it in balance in that case of like, can you heal as fast as the damage that's being done to your team, right? Hopefully that's clear. Normally I would ask for questions right now, but because it's a video, I'm just going to have to ask. If you have any questions, please post them at the bottom of the video. I will definitely go about to answering them. Okay, so let's take this a little bit further, right? So we've done that. We've done the case of an arena. We've kind of explained damage and damage per second as a concept, right? I want to do damage, but I want to do it quickly, right, in order to achieve my objective. Like I said, anybody could do 100,000 worth of damage, but a good player or a player who's experienced will be able to execute that in a way such that it's faster than a player who's maybe more inexperienced. But anyways, let's get to that right now. And I'm going to spend the rest of this time basically discussing different ways in which you can affect your DPS. Right? How to affect my DPS. All right. And the biggest thing I want to talk about here is as it applies in war zones, right? There are two things, right? Actually, there are a few things. There's execution, right, which basically means keybinds, right? I think this is pretty self-explanatory in that if you are actively moving about, and I'll go into my SWTOR right here, and in order to cast a spell, if you're trying to click it versus if you have it hotkeyed and you're just pressing the button, I don't actually have a rifle, so I can't cast any of these spells. It's going to basically make a difference in time, right? And we already talked about how time is critical in this case. So that's one of the first things that you want to start thinking about. The second thing that I want to talk about is this kind of goes into dead time, or as I like to call spawning, right? Let's use the example of Civil War, right? Because there's no spawn timer door, right? It's literally when you spawn in Civil War, you click a speeder and it flies you down to the center, right? Now I picked this because the Warzone timer starts, right? The clock starts the second, right, the scoreboard shows up that like the score started. So that means even though I'm clicking this speeder, I'm getting down to my objective point, I'm doing 0 damage during this time. So this is actually taking away from, let's say if I was a damage dealer, my damage per second, right? Which is why dying is one of the fastest ways to kill your DPS, because when you die, you have to spawn. Right? When you spawn, you are doing 0 damage. Right? So very important. Don't throw your life away. Right? And I think we have some other videos as far as where to stand. Always try to take into account what the other team sees and make sure you're not the person being targeted. Right? Always assume that. We go into that in other videos. This is about as much as I wanted to talk about as far as DPS goes. Again, if you have any questions that apply to this, please let me know, and I will hopefully address them. That's it for now. Peace out.